Oh, cool. Okay, well, hello everybody. I'm your entertainment tonight, and let me skip forward a bit to a picture that is relevant. I just, by good luck, have this presentation. So the whole story is that last weekend, I met with some amateur radio friends of mine from the Aspinwall or O'Hara Township area at a local Panera Bread place called Waterworks, which is technically in the city of Pittsburgh. It's called Waterworks because it's right across the street from where the city of Pittsburgh gets their water. So there's a Panera Bread there. There's a patio out front, and we get together out there once a month. So I got the bright idea, I've got this IC705. I've got this goofy looking antenna. I'll bet I could get us on the air from Panera Bread. So I did. So I dragged out this antenna. This is a OM0ET. Oh, didn't mean to do that. Well, we can go to a browser later on. Or maybe I can. Okay, I don't want to screw up too much during the presentation. This is made by a ham in the, is it Slovenia or Slovakia? If I gave the wrong number, it might touch off an international event of some kind, an international incident. Anyway, it's somewhere in Eastern Europe, OM0ET. Somebody can look up where OM0 is located. Really, really great guy. He answers his email. I bought one of these loops from him last year. It's around 270 euros. By the time you add in postage from Europe, it's like $330, which is not cheap. But if you've looked at the price of mag loop antennas, it's quite reasonable. The parts are very well constructed. It's all put together well. He uses quality materials, excellent instructions. So I brought it to coffee, and I hooked up my station. Let me go back a couple slides. Actually, I should be, here we go. Set it, no. Let me go back a little bit more. There we go. So that's my station I brought. Over here is, of course, the wonderful IC705. This is a Lenovo laptop that I got refurbished cheap from Amazon, and I dual booted it, of course, to Linux. And I'm running WFView here, and I'm connecting wirelessly to the IC705. So I set the station up on the air. It all set up very, very quickly. You turn on the IC705. It broadcasts a wireless access point. I connect to that access point with the laptop, and they're on the same network. And through WFU, I get rig control, and I get the waterfall here. And then I run FLDigi for CW or WSJTX for FT8. So I did that, got on the air very quickly, tuned for minimum SWR, went to 20 meter FT8, and I made like half a dozen contacts. I even got decent signal reports. I was getting signal reports of like -11, which for a mag loop antenna and 10 watts is pretty good. And then just for fun, we went up to 17 meters, which is a good band. Couldn't work anybody on FT8, but I went in waterfall and saw a, I saw a CW station. I double clicked in the waterfall, tuned the radio. It was a station in Oregon, and I had like a 10-minute contact with it, which was just way cool. With the IC705 and the Linux laptop, and we chatted for a bit. So what Tim and I were talking about was that maybe we need a new certificate program, coffee on the air. The idea is you go to coffee shops, You get on the air, you make contact. There's lots of, you can get an endorsement sticker for Panera, maybe another endorsement sticker for Starbucks or Sheetz. And then there's all kinds of local coffee shops here in Pittsburgh. The one I frequent is Coffee Tree. It's just down the hill from Fox Chapel. One day I pulled in the parking lot and I parked next door to, my goodness, honest to goodness, a Rolls Royce. I was very careful not to ding the guy's door as I got out. I would frankly be too frightened to drive such a vehicle. But so there I was with my Mustang GT next to him. I'm not one of those people. I'm a little more humble than that. But there's a coffee shop there. Unfortunately, they don't have an outdoor patio, but there's a lot of other coffee shops that do. Sheets on the Air might be interesting because they're like everywhere. So that's what I did last Saturday morning. I don't know how I'm going to talk about this for another 54 minutes, but we'll think of something. Now, let me warn you guys, if things get too quiet, I have several thousand Pitt football and Pitt marching band photos I will show you. So unless you guys start asking questions or getting involved, I will inflict these on you. So let's just go back and briefly review how I get on the air. So the whole thing is that I still have a KX3, which I haven't used in a long time. And I'm not knocking Elecraft. It's a great little radio, but it was designed before the day of digital modes. And if you want to do FT8 or something like Olivia or something like that, you need, I've lost track of the number, cables, you need audio interface cards, splitters, a CW keyer, an external powered speaker. I mean, it is a mess to hook up and so on and so forth. The IC705 connects with one USB cable, and that works great. But the problem with the USB cable is that because the IC705 is so small, ICOM left out some filtering in the USB circuit, and they admit that. There were compromises that need to be made due to the size of the radio. So as a result, any USB cable that you connect to the IC705 is going to be very, very noisy. Now you can try wrapping a toroid around the USB cable, and that gets it from really bad to not so bad. I can still see a little bit of noise in the waterfall, but it's at least usable. But with the IC705, ICOM did something very, very smart. It's the first radio to have Wi-Fi built into it. And they really intended to use it with their expensive and Windows only RSBA1 software. It's expensive. It's around $150. This is on top of radio that costs $1,200. And it gets, now I haven't looked at the eHAM reviews lately, but it used to get just regularly hammered at eHAM. I haven't updated this, but at the time, you could also only get it as a CD. I mean, come on, this is not, and I wrote this presentation from 2021. It's even more true that in 2022, we download our software from the internet. I mean, my God, the computers these days don't even come with CDs. I also don't think the RSBA one has a waterfall. So you read a lot of hams griping about it. So between the noise and me wanting to run Windows, I wanted to run this under Linux. But ICOM probably didn't realize that with their wireless interface, you don't have to use their software. And there are some free alternatives to the expensive proprietary software from ICOM. The first one is something called Cap and Hang. It was developed in Europe. I forget which country. It runs on Linux and it works great with that. It's very low impact. It's easy to use. By low impact, I mean it doesn't take up a lot of CPU cycles. The other one is WFU, which runs on Windows, Mac OS, and Linux. And you can also do some rate control on it. I haven't tried this. You can also forward audio. And I use WFU on my remote station in Hermitage, which we'll look at a little bit later. So what I do is I set the IC705 as a wireless access point. And then I take my radio on my computer, I connect to the IC705. And it works. It's very, very easy. At that point, just run cap and hang or WFU and you're connected. I'm not going to go through nuts and bolts. I found this from WFU, and I've already made this presentation available to Mercer County. I can send it out again if somebody wants to post it. And it's also available from an anonymous FTP site I have set up. If you want to do it on Windows, here's a nice video describing how to do that. I know most of you guys are running Windows. So it connects wirelessly. Here's an overview of WFU and Cap and Hang. So Cap and Hang was developed in Hungary. That's where you can get the documentation downloaded. They have a nice video tutorial on the project page, and it's written in a language called Go. And once you're connected, you run a magic incantation like this to connect to your IC705. Or this is the IP address of your IC705. And it gives you a virtual USB port here, which you can then connect using FLRig or WSJTX. And it also creates virtual sound card devices. So it even passes the audio in both directions through the wireless access point. And I use this at field day, and it works, and it's very reliable. Now, WFU, it's easier to show you. Okay, do you guys see this? You see the display up in Hermitage? Screen sharing is paused. Why would it be paused? Oh, I want to resume share. I want to share.
You may have to get out and back in on the share.
Yeah. Stop share. Okay, sorry about that. Stop share. Here we go. Thanks, Tim.
You picked the wrong one.
Oh, I did. Okay. Cockpit error. Okay, I want this one. There we go. So this is my station in Hermitage. And this up here is WFU. And this is a waterfall. Right now I'm on 20 meter CW. These are CW signals. If I want to tune to somebody, I just double click. You see it retuned. And then I'm going to grab it here with, of course, he would quit transmitting just as I do that. Oh, here's a real strong signal. Double click, the radio's retuned. I'm a little bit off. Click there in FL Digi. QSY to put them right in the middle of the bandpass. And there we go. Now, if we were on Zoom, we could actually copy him right now. But, but we can at least see him. This is VA1ASEK. Well, you can see that this actually works. So this is how you tune around in WFU, and this is free. Now, when the IC73 came out, you know, hams, they'll gripe about anything. It's a great radio for the price. It's a wonderful radio, but you cannot, but there's no video port in the back where you can display the waterfall on a big monitor in your shack. Well, with WFU, you can't. You can't. And this is what it looks like. Now you also get some certain amount of rig control, and they're adding to the functionality. Eventually, I wanted them to get to the point to where I don't need to use FL Rig anymore. FL Rig is part of the FL Digi suite, and that's what I use for rig control. Like if I want to tune my antenna tuner, I hit that button, and it tunes the antenna tuner. So, okay, so M1 ASE, VAD, VE1 ASE. Okay, it looks like we have a fairly short skip tonight. So this is what WF looks like. And by the way, I'm going to have a 2-page article in the next issue of QEX about this, because it really adds to remote station operating. Okay, let me go back to my dog and pony show. I want to stop share. I want to share again. Yeah, I see Barney is in there. Hello, Barney. And no, that's where I just was. Where is my, oh, here we go. There, so I should now be sharing this again. So that's what WFU looks like. Excuse me, I should have got some water here. And this is what a screenshot looked like that I took during a major contest. And some of you might be saying, well, gee, Harry, you got a waterfall here in the IC705. Why also have it on a computer next to it? And the reason is simply that, look how much bigger this display is. And then, yeah, you can retune your radio by touching the waterfall, but I find it's more accurate to do it on the computer, like you just saw me do. I find that's, and then there's virtual desktops on this, so I can also get to FL Digi and what other app that I want to get to. Now, it's very easy to use on Linux. On Windows, it gets a little bit more complicated, because in Windows, if you want to share the wireless serial port, you need to install a virtual serial port package. And likewise, with the audio, you need to install virtual audio cable. Now, I actually went through the trouble of doing this, and it works. But I didn't use the virtual serial port for a while. And a month later, I tried it again. It asked me, please insert your license key, which kind of annoyed the heck out of me. Because, gee, who keeps your license key for something like that handy? So it will work on Windows, but I think it's a pain. And then the virtual serial port that I was using cost a lot of money. Now, there are less expensive ones out there, but they're less functional. So this will work under Windows, but in my opinion, it's a pain. But if you must do it, there's a really good video from VK3FS that you can look at. Okay, so keying. I wanted to have a completely wireless connection between the computer and IC705. So they have built this into FL Digi. It can send CW through cat commands. And this is how you would configure this. You just configure cat keying. You say you're using ICOM. You enter the hex CIV address, and then you can send CW through the virtual USB cable. So I don't need a CW keyer. I don't need a cable going to a CW keyer, and then I don't need an audio cable going from the output of the CW keyer to the key input on the IC705. Very convenient. Very, very convenient. So which computer to use? I've used two different computers. I've used the Raspberry Pi and a Lenovo Thinkpad. Each one has advantages and disadvantages. The Raspberry Pi is very lightweight. If you pick a Raspberry Pi 3B, look at this, 250 milliamperes. That's very low current drain. And I use a PowerWorks USB buddy to power it, so I can power it off the same lithium ion phosphate battery I do use for the IC705. And it works great. Now, where it falls down, you can run WSJTX on this, but that's a royal pain on a 7-inch screen. I would not recommend that. This is great for CW. This is great for other digital modes. Not so great for WSJTX. The other drawback to the Raspberry Pi is that it doesn't come with an internal clock, which means that if you want to run FT8, you first need to connect to a network, get the clock synchronized, and then connect to here, to the IC705. Or you can connect a GPS receiver and get your time standard that way. And I have a document that describes how to do that. And I think that's particularly the way to do it if you're doing, say, a Parks on the Air or a Summits on the Air, where you don't have a network available. So, and you can get these GPS receivers for very, very cheap. So that's the Raspberry Pi. The big advantage of going to a full-size ThinkPad like this, when I say full size, it's only 11 inches, is that you get the 11-inch screen. This is what FL Digi and FL Rig look like on this. This is like operating from a base station. I got this cheap. I shop, I helped put Jeff Bezos into space and William Shatner space because I shop at Whole Foods. So you get Amazon rewards, and I use that to buy this computer refurbished from Amazon. It arrived in literally like new condition with a warranty from the refurb company, another warranty from Lenovo. This is a very tough and rugged computer. It's spill-proof keyboard. This is Gorilla Glass. I came with Windows 10. I held my nose. I upgraded to Windows 11. The only time I really plan on using this for Windows is for N1MM. And I get that N1MM is free. It's programmed by volunteers. If they want it, and it would also be a huge undertaking to rewrite that for Linux or Macintosh. So I get why it's Windows only, and I accept that. So that's really the only time that I ever reboot to Windows. N1MM is frankly a better program for contesting than FL Digi because that's what it's designed for. But FL Digi has enough contesting capability in it for field day and for other contests where you're going to be searching and pouncing. If you're going to be running all day, calling CQ and running all day, you could get by with FL Digi. I think it would drive you up a wall because it doesn't have things like autocomplete and it won't score your contest. But then again, it's not designed for that. It's not designed for that. This computer also lasts at least 10 hours off an internal battery. It's powered by USB-C, which means that you don't have to use a proprietary connector. This over here is an external Wi-Fi port. The one Wi-Fi port in the computer is tied up connecting to the IC705. So if I want to do things like look up the station I'm working on QRZ, I need this. So this is a Wi-Fi port connecting to my home network. This is in my backyard in Hermitage. I love to go up there and operate in the backyard, look at the wildlife. I've seen just all kinds of birds back there. It's like, I inherited from my mother. It's like having my own private park. And it's just such a wonderful thing to have. I was up there last Friday, saw birds I'd never seen before. We have, of course, this being Western Pennsylvania, we have groundhogs, deer. The deer don't seem to be frightened by the noise of loud CW. Doesn't seem to bother them much. Squirrels, it's just, I sit out there with a pair of binoculars when I'm not working something. I'll look at the wildlife. It's like somebody who maybe, when the bands are bad, it's like when somebody goes fishing and they don't catch anything, they said, well, it was still a nice day. I was out on the lake. So I'm probably going to be doing this again sometime during the week. This is a 3 ampere hour Bio-NO battery. That'll run an IC705 at 10 watts all day and then some. I have a 6 ampere hour battery that I keep. I may quit carrying it around because I don't need it. It's big and heavy. And then the 705 also has a pretty big battery that snaps onto the rear. I forget the capacity of it, but that'll only run 5 watts. But if you just want to get on the air quickly, then you just pull out the radio and turn on, and there it is. Now, this is a good time to talk philosophy and so on and so forth. I'm sure a lot of you are saying, Harry, this is crazy complexity. You've got Linux here, you have Wi-Fi access, you're running WFU, and the answer is, it is complex at first. But once I got everything installed, I'm on the air literally in minutes. So I spent the time and prep. And once I get set up, I literally just turn on the radio, connect the laptop to the access point, fire up WFU or Camp and Hang, and then my application stack here, and I'm on the air. It's really simple and quick. Now I have another, the whole, so it really is simple once you get all set up. Now, if I want to run more power, I still have this Elecraft KXP 100 amp. Now, I bought this to go with my KX3 from Elecraft. If I were in the market for an amp today, geez, these things, I don't know, it's around $1,000 at least. There's much less expensive amps you can buy. But I have it, so for me, it's a free amp. I've already paid it off. It's bulletproof, has a built-in antenna tuner. It interfaces very, very easily. There's a cable. You could probably use any audio cable. There's one specifically made for it for like $5 from DX Engineering that goes between the amp out on the IC705 into the back of this, and it keys it. And you turn the IC705 down to 5 watts, and you get 100 watts out. And I might actually bring this to field day just to, if I'm going to be running commercial power, I may as well just make contacts a little bit easier. Nice amp. So let's now talk about getting on the air quickly. Let me just check the time here. Okay, plenty of time. So once again, my whole philosophy is I want to spend my time getting on the air, not fighting with equipment, configuring equipment, and worse yet, fighting with wire antennas. I spent a lifetime fighting with wire antennas. First, you have to support them. So you have to get a mast. Then you have to support the mast, which means that you got to get a base, you got to pound it into the ground. Now you're talking about carrying around a mallet. Who wants to carry around a mallet in your go kit, in your go bag? And then some of these masts are very whippy. You then have to, set up guy wires, which now we're talking about stakes, which means you got to be pounding stakes, ropes. You need a pulley to get your antenna up to the top. You need to make sure your wire antenna doesn't get all tangled up in the mast. Okay, so you say, well, I'm going to go someplace with a bunch of trees. Well, you either need to have an arm like Nolan Ryan to get your antenna up over the tree, which I don't have, or you got to carry a slingshot, which is something more to carry. Then you got to put on the safety goggles. And I'm pretty good with the slingshot, but it still takes a few shots to get it over the tree. And oh, that's not where I want it. Let me try it again. You lose the weights. That's a pain in the rear end too. Uh, so I'm not a big fan of wire antennas for portable operations. So I set out to build a portable antenna. These are the parts. I started, being I'm a photographer, I know about photography supplies. So I started with a carbon fiber tripod. This is very small. This is designed for tabletops. But you notice the legs extend. And the cool thing about this tripod is that you can lay the legs out flat. So it's very stable. Now, I did this in field day last year, and of course it blew over. So the other thing that you can then do is get 10 stakes and stake down the legs. So I get that. This is, and you see here, I have, this is a, where you screw in the antenna up here. This is where the feed line goes in. This is a base for an antenna from Buddy Pole. I have a history of buying portable antennas. I try them, I don't like them. But so through the years, I have enough spare parts where I was able to cobble parts together. So this is now the base for my antenna. This base here from Buddy Pole, where you screw in the thread for the portable antenna. And this is where the feed line goes in. Now you're going to need a loading coil. This is a loading coil from, was it Wolf River Coils? These things are great. And I can't say enough good things about Wolf River Coils. This is where, now this is when designed for 2 bands. The upper collar here is for 20 meters. This is for 40 meters. You change bands by unplugging this little connector here and plugging into here. Now, Friday when I was up in the air, this little tab here for 40 meters broke off. Oh, I was uttering epitaphs about Wolf River Coils. So I went to the website. The replacement tab for this, and this is, and you can see here it's held in by a screw with a nut on the inside. This replacement part here costs $5. Compare that to any radio part you bought from any other vendor. So now I'm thinking, okay, they're going to get me on shipping. $3 for shipping. Well, let me buy some more. So I bought 4 of these for spares. So it cost me all of $23. Okay, let's pick USPS shipping. Oh, that'll take forever. Showed up yesterday. So I cannot say enough good things about Wolf River Coils. This is designed for 100 watts sideband, less if you're running digital or CW, but I haven't smoked any of these yet. So I think they're just being conservative. So the base here, here's thread, this screws into here. And then you screw your, now this is a whip antenna I got from Buddy Pole. This extends out 12 feet. This is a military grade whip. And down here you see the base, and it screws into the top of the Wolf River coil. Then I have a Buddy Pole baling. This is a little bit pricey. This costs like around $100, but it works great. This feed line here goes into the feed point here, and then the feed line from the antenna goes into the baling. And the baling does 2 things. Number one, it isolates the antenna, isolates the feed line, but I've also noticed I get much, much broader SWR curve. I can tune the entire 20 and 40 meter bands without use of an antenna tuner. On 20 meters, I can get an almost 1-to-1 SWR. On 40 meters, I'll get like a 1.4-to-1. And like I said, don't fall into the game of low SWR chasing. It buys you very, very little for a lot of work. And then I use an antenna analyzer to move these up or down for minimum SWR. And then these are radials. So there's a point here on this Buddy Pole mounting plate where you take the eye hooks here and you connect these and you wheel these out. And remember, radials are half your antenna. So I have 3 radials. These are 40 meter radials. And these are 3 20-meter radios I wind on one speed winder because the 20-meter radios are only 16 feet long. These are 33 feet long. And this antenna, I don't have a picture of the whole antenna setup. I need to take one. I don't know, I'd be talking nicer else I would, but it works great, particularly on 20 meters. Great, great antenna. And it assembles in maybe like, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes. And it takes apart very, very easily. So this is what and then I can put this anywhere. I don't have to look for a tree. I don't have to put up a mast. I don't have to risk shooting my eye out with a slingshot. I don't need fishing line. I'm convinced this is the optimal solution for portable operation. And I have another one of these, and here I'm going to build one for some other bands. 17 meters is a great band for FT8, and there's a lot of people also on CW. 30 meters is another really, really good band. There you're limited, I think, to 100 watts, and that's another really good band that's open a lot of time. So I'm going to get build myself some more radios. I have a spare one of these tripods and a spare base here, and I'm going to build another one for 17 meters and 30 meters. And these buddy pole, these break down nice tiny packages like this. They're held together by shock cord. So breaks together and then comes apart very good. They're fairly steady. They don't whip around in the wind very much. Okay, and we spoke about this. Now this antenna works reasonably well. Now, a lot of the people who market these, market them almost as a magic antenna. Oh, get one of these loop antennas and you'll work the world, all kinds of DX. Show somebody at a parks in the air doing CW. Look, it's a compromise antenna. It's great for FT8. It's great for CW. I don't know how well, I frankly haven't tried it on sideband because I don't operate a lot of sideband, but I would be skeptical of this at a parts in the air deployment if you're doing sideband. You might make contacts, but I think it might be frustrating. Also note that you're limited to 10 to 20 power, 10 to 20 watts with this. So I'm absolutely not going to hook up my Elecraft amp to this. So you're going to be putting out a fairly weak signal. And also keep in mind, now this is my deck in Aswall here. There's a house here. There's my house nearby. There's the neighbor house. There's power lines. It's quite noisy, and I'm not in the clear. And in the Panera, right up against the shopping center. So that's the other thing to keep in mind. Don't expect magic out of a compromised antenna. Another drawback to mag loop is that the bandpass of stations with low SWR is maybe like 20 kilohertz. So if you're like operating in the FT8 part of the band and you're thinking, oh, let me now go operate some CW, you're going to have to retune the antenna. Now here's a trick to retuning the antenna that old-time hams, well, I'm an old-time ham, but a lot of old-time hams would just blanch at. I used to disconnect the radio, hook up an antenna analyzer, turn the capacitor, and then hook the radio up again. There's a much easier way that relies upon the quality of ICOM's quality engineering. You configure the IC705 to put out a carrier. And in fact, if we can get back to the picture of the 705, in one of the more recent firmware upgrades, you can customize the Vox button to key down. So if you put the IC705 into ready mode and push the Vox button, it'll put out a carrier. So then, let's get back here. So then, look at this beautiful display, including SWR. You just look at the SWR and the IC705 and tune the antenna for minimum SWR. I know that a lot of old time hands are going to say, Harry, you're going to fry the finals. Well, these modern radios are designed for that. I've been doing this. I haven't seen any smoke yet. So yeah, I'm relying on ICOM's engineering, but I can also accidentally transmit into a high SWR. So that's the quickest way I've seen to tune one of these mag loop antennas. Just use the SWR indicator on the radio. It's certainly the quickest. Is it a best practice? I don't know. Works for me, and it's really really quick. What else can I say about this? So like I said, it's not a magic antenna. Don't expect magical results. Now this also breaks apart very easily. Um, there's a joint up here, a PVC pipe that separates. There's a connection here. This loop here comes apart. This unscrews and goes in a nice tight loop, and the tuning capacitor snaps off. So I don't have a picture of my mobile antenna farm, which I jokingly call a photography backpack that I repurposed for it, but I can easily fit my vertical antenna, a couple tripods, and some feed line in this antenna in one backpack. Now, everybody's excited about Dayton coming up. One thing that I've learned is that what weighs the most in my portable antenna farm is the feed line. Coaxial cable is very heavy. Now, this comes with nice coax here, but I do need some coax for the portable vertical. And I know that some people, particularly Buddy Pole, sell mill grade, high quality, lightweight coax. That's going to be on my Dayton shopping list. Something right now I'm using RG8X, which is perfectly good feed line. But I think in like a 25-foot run, even at 5 to 10 watts, I'm not going to lose very much. So one thing I'm going to be looking for is quality, lightweight coaxial cable with BNC connectors on each end. I've standardized everything on BNC connectors because that's what the IC705 has. I hate carrying around a bag full of adapters, and every antenna, both these portable antennas are standardized on. In fact, this is the feed point for the loop antenna. It comes with the BNC. So I'm standardizing on BNC connectors. Okay. Now I've been doing most of the talking here. Do you guys have any questions? I mean, we could put something in the, any questions for me, or see, let me get back here to Zoom. Where did the chat room go? Oh, well. And you guys have any questions, comments, suggestions, things I could be doing better? Okay. So basically, what I would love to do is, anybody want to get together in Buell Park to do some of this? Now I'm blessed to be retired, so I can be up there during the day. And yeah, the shoulders may or may not be in use, but I'll bet that during the day, at least one of them would be available. And now during the weekend, let's face it, Buell Park is a wonderful asset. I've been up there on weekends. The parks, the shelters are available with reunions, family outings. We had our club picnic up there. So I would imagine that the shelters would be busy on weekends, but we could try. But anybody want to get together, up in Buell Park to do some of this? Let me know. My email address is W3YJ@ARRL.net. Oops, I'm not done with the slideshow yet. Hey, 15 minutes left. You guys have any more questions? Comments?
So Harry, what made you pick Panera?
It's close to where everybody lives, and they also have the nice patio outside. Uh, there, it's there's places with better coffee, but it's a great location. It's a great location. It's very central to where we all live. I live in Aspinwall, and O'Hara Township is where a lot of our hams live. It's just up the hill from me. So it's a very, very nice location.
So what about Panera up in Hermitage?
That one has a nice patio. We could certainly try operating from there. That would have many of the same shortcomings. You're near a building, not a power lines, but somebody wants to meet at a Panera. Uh, I'd be happy to meet somebody up there to do some hamming. And likewise, the Starbucks in Hermitage has a nice patio also. I've never seen anybody hamming from there. Of course, I've never seen a lot of people hamming from anywhere, but except, of course, with hams. So we could even do the Starbucks in Hermitage if somebody wants to give that a try.
So, Harry, you've been going to the Dayton Hamvention for lots of years. What are the things that are on your list that you're going to participate in at Hamvention this year?
Okay. I always go to the AMSAT forum. I've always been interested in space. I've dabbled with satellite communication. I've never actually made a contact, but I have all the gear for it. And at some point this summer, I'm going to get together, I hope, with my good friend Juan, NA0B, and actually make a contact. And AMSAT's always been great about their plans, what they're working on. So I always go to the AMSAT forum. It's funny that you mentioned that because I just put into a chat room for Pitt. I'm trying to encourage some of our Pitt students to go. Some of the forums I wanted to go to. Oh yeah. There's the AMSAT forum I want to go to. This is in the way here. Yes, Oh, then there's the Ham SCI forum. So I go to a lot of the forums. Do we still have the screen share set up? Oh, it's paused. Let me just go ahead and stop the share. Hamstein, I want to go to. There used to be a forum for college radio clubs. I haven't seen that. So I go to a lot of the forums. I may even go to the antenna forum this year. I know that's always very interesting. The cool thing about the Dayton for me is just wandering around, seeing all the vendors with all the new stuff to play with. And for me, it's almost like a reunion. I always run into so many of my old ham time friends there. I wear a call sign hat. Somebody's always come out and be, hey, Harry. So those are the kinds of things I'm doing. Basically reconnecting with my ham friends, going to some interesting forums, and God knows what piece of gear I might drag home. And I might always go to the shopping list, and I always come back with a lot of stuff that's not on it.
So what about 705 accessories that you've looked at that might be interesting to you and might help your operations?
Okay, yeah. The one accessory I have are the two little feet that I glued on the bottom. The IC705 is a great radio, but you want a radio that tips up a little bit, that is tilted upward a little bit to make it easier to read the display and push the buttons. And the 705 keeps tipping over. And the fact that it keeps tipping over is the worst thing you can say about a radio. Means it's a pretty well designed radio. So I have a little tripod that I bought for like 10 bucks. I screw into it. That works great. But what I like best is I got a couple of glue-on feet that were designed for computer laptops. I just glue those on the bottom, and once again, it's one less thing to carry. So that's the accessory I like the most. The glue-on feet sounds crazy. Accessories, BioNO batteries. They're the best. I carry, I do CW, so I carry a little N3ZN CW panel that goes directly into the radio. I do most of my operating through whatchamacallit, FL Digi, but there's times much easier just to reach for that paddle. So an N3ZN paddle, uh, accessories. That's really about it. The one thing I wish they would add to the radio is, yeah, you can get rig control and audio remotely through the Wi-Fi, but you can't get the GPS signal. So if they could pass GPS location and time through the Wi-Fi, that would be great. I'm sure there's a software upgrade. Once again, that's a minor thing. So accessories, CW paddle, computer feet, BioNO battery.
Have there been software or firmware updates to the 705 since you purchased it?
Oh yeah. The big upgrade was the one that enabled the wireless access. And the other nice feature was updating the, you can customize keys. So then when I push the Vox button on the front, it keys the radio. They have updated that. The other nice thing that ICOM did is that you also do get I forget the model number, but they have a memory. You can program the radio with a free piece of software. That's nice also. Now, of course, it only runs on Windows, but once again, it's free as it doesn't cost anything. And it's actually a nice little piece of software. So I recommend that for programming memories, because remember, you can also use it for 2 meter and 440 FM as a talk around radio. So it's easier to program memory channels. You can also program memory banks. I have one memory bank for Mercer County. I have another one for Pittsburgh. Probably have another one for Dayton. It also does its D-Star. Now, if I can only find somebody to talk to with D-Star, that'd be great. But you can also connect to D-Star over a wireless network. It's just a great piece of design.
Have you used your 705 on 2 meter FM?
Oh yeah. In my ham shack here in Pittsburgh, that's what I usually use to talk to the University of Pittsburgh repeater on 440. Works great. 10 watts is plenty of power. I get good reports of audio, and it works extremely well. Love it.
How hard is it to set up splits and PL tones, etc., for the FM part?
I did it once when I first got the radio. I haven't done it since, so I don't remember. I don't remember it being that onerous because it's all through that. But I think it'd be easier doing it through the program.
Okay.
So I'm going to say it's moderately different. I think a modern HT would be worse because there's fewer buttons.
I believe I know RT Systems supports it. So if you have the RT Systems programming software.
No, I don't. But one thing to keep in mind, a couple ICOM firmware revisions ago, it broke the 705 portion of RT System software. I saw that on one of the mailing lists, and that caused RT System to do quite a scramble to fix that. One argument that I've had with some hams and online forums is that, oh, the new firmware's out. You all have to upgrade right away. There's no reason not to. I spent a life in IT, and wait a couple of days. Let somebody else find the bugs. And unless there's some screaming feature, wait. There's no rush. Let somebody else step in something. After a few days, then do the firmware upgrade.
So let's talk about the receiver of the IC705. It's got a general coverage receiver in it?
Yes, it does. The New York Times used it to receive unencrypted Russian military communications. There's a video that the New York Times published about a month ago, and they needed a visual. So there's an IC705 listening at 8 megahertz to unencrypted Russian military transmissions. So it's got a very good receiver.
So what's the low end of the frequency range of the receiver? Is it 500 kilohertz or lower than that?
I don't know. I think it's 160 meters, but I don't know for a fact.
Okay. And
I actually have mine right here, so I actually could turn it on. Give me a second. It's right here in my go bag. Let me turn it on. That's the nice thing having a little portable radio. Okay, it's on. let me push the frequency here. So, 180, 160 meters is the lowest.
All right, so it goes to 1.8 megahertz.
Yes, and it goes up to 430. It also does airband, FM broadcast. You can listen to Hot 101 with this.
There you go. Okay, so because this radio does, how much power does it have at 70 centimeters?
10 watts.
10 watts.
Yeah,
Okay.
which
And
is
on
plenty.
2 meters,
10 watts.
Okay, good.
And the receiver appears to be the equal of my IC. You know, I'm not. Oh, who's the guy who does comparisons of contest you of
Rob Sherwood.
Sherwood, yeah. I mean, I'm no Rob Sherwood, but just from an ear test, it sounds just like the 7300 in terms of stations that you can work, the selectivity, the sensitivity. It's basically a 7300 in a smaller box with more features.
And it does not transmit on 220, is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. And I think if you get the European version, it will transmit on 4 meters because 4 meters would be right in the same range.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah.
Yeah. And so this would also work 10 meter FM to work
Yeah.
repeaters on 10 FM on the high end of the band.
Yeah, it's like if somebody's looking for a radio that can do everything, this is the closest thing. And if you want more power, there's almost a cottage industry and outdoor amplifiers for it. I don't have any of them, but there's a lot of people building them. So,
right. So even 6 meter FM and 10 meter FM.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, it also has Bluetooth for headphones. So
right.
Once again, I was at field day with this radio last year. People were chatting, there's other signals, and stupid me didn't bring a pair of headphones. So this year I'm bringing a set of Bose noise canceling headphones, Bluetooth, just plugged right in. I'll turn them on. In fact, I use these headphones. I have the Bluetooth on this turned off. Otherwise, I would automatically connect to it.
So what kind of a load on the battery do all these the Wi-Fi, the Bluetooth? I mean, how much does that affect your battery life?
Not very much. Somewhere in my presentation, I actually have the current drain, but
I seem to recall like 250 milliamperes.
Yeah, it's not. That must be in another presentation. It doesn't draw. Okay, the radio draws. I'm sorry. The radio draws like 2 amps
on transmit.
On transmit, yeah. On receive, it's I don't know 250 mil sounds about right. And
right. But when you start layering on some of these features like Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, I mean,
it doesn't seem to have much. It doesn't seem. Well, I'll be honest. I haven't done a careful measurement.
Okay.
But it doesn't seem to increase it very much.
All right.
So no, it doesn't put that much load. The big load is the computer. When I go from, I don't dare plug my Lenovo laptop into the Bio because that'll just draw too much power. Like I said, a Raspberry Pi 3B will draw 250 mils.
Okay. Harry, I want to thank you on behalf of the Mercer County Amateur Radio Club for your presentation this evening. Thank you so much.
And if you could encourage some kind of a portable operation, whether it be Beale Park, Panera, or
Okay.